David Tennant again?
Welcome to episode 255 of Nerdery Murdery.
Big 255. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd, the murd. We'll see how long my voice goes. I've been sick all week. So sorry, I'm a little gravelly and actually couldn't talk much Monday and Tuesday. I had to take Tuesday off. I was rough.
That cedar fever.
I know it's sick. I was sick. My sister came to visit last week and they were not feeling well. And I don't know if I caught anything for them or just caught a bug, but I took them to the airport Monday morning and my throat was already hurting. And by the time I live like 15 minutes from the airport.
God, that must be nice.
It is. By the time I came home, I took a nosedive. It was bad. It just came on like a freight train. It's kind of stuck with me all week. So, excuse me. So I will try to push through as best as I can. 255, that is happy 4th of July week for everybody out there listening to this live.
Happy 4th of July?
You know what's stupid? The 250th anniversary of America stupidly came as a surprise to me. I wasn't even it kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to remember back to 1976.
Oh, yeah. Big bicentennial. That was huge.
It was. And it doesn't seem like, I see it in places, but doesn't seem like this has the same height. I understand we're a different nation now, and there's a lot of bad things going on, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, just like I said, kind of stupidly came as a surprise to me that this was 250. I wasn't even thinking about it. But anyway, happy 4th of July to those you out there. We finally have some rain down here, and I'm so glad for it. I hope this rain stays and sticks. We are in such a severe drought down here. When my sister was in town, we went out to SpaceX, and to get out to SpaceX, you go down a lot of roads where the Gulf, I'm going to say it, the Gulf of Mexico, is on either side of the road.
Yeah. Little causeways.
Yeah. Bone dry.
Oh, no. You mean the little bayous and stuff are bone dry?
Yes. It's bad down here. The drought.
Yeah, those coastal plains should be full of water.
Yes, they should.
At medium and high tide.
Yeah. No, bone dry. It's bad. And so we've thankfully got rain today, and I hope it kind of sticks all day.
That's where all the fish and the wading birds and the alligators and all the other stuff live. They kind of need that water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's been severe down here. So this is welcome rain. But yesterday before the rain kicked in, we went to our local market days here, which happens once a month in downtown, and it was really kind of neat. We specifically went down because Chelsea is thinking about starting her own sourdough business. Because she's really gotten into making sourdough or whatnot. And we'd heard there were some vendors down there that did that, and there were 3 tables. Got to talk to them for a while. I met another indie author down there, talked with him for a while. Met a director for a local library. She's going to talk to me this week about doing an author day at the library, which I thought was really cool. But it was neat. We're a smaller town down here, but it was really kind of neat. So Chelsea may end up doing some of that. Anyway, thought that was really cool.
Cool.
I have an update on one of our cases that we covered not too very long ago, the Texas Killing Fields case. So Clyde Hedrick in that case was the man who was accused as a suspect in the documentary in 2022. His case actually got sent to grand jury, but he committed suicide before they could come back with a decision.
Oh.
But there has been an arrest of a 61-year-old man named James Dolph Elmore Jr., who has now been indicted by a grand jury for manslaughter and felony tampering of evidence in 2 of the deaths from 2 of the women found off Calder Road.
Oh, so it may have been 2 people working it?
They think it may have been multiple people because there were so many bodies found. But these 4 that were off Calder Road, they think were all potentially one person. May have been Clyde Hedrick, may have been a couple, but yeah, they're making some progress in this case. It's been cold for a very long time, so I thought that was really cool that I saw those updates come across this week.
Cool.
The only other thing I have is, since this is the 4th of July, fingers crossed that my second book, The Darkwind Paradox, will hopefully be out. I'm hopefully targeting June for it to be out. I just went through second round of edits with my publisher. They sent the first round back. I sent some, and this is just the formatting pass. We're done with the content pass, and this was formatting, and I sent them back some formatting errors. They sent it back to me, found a few more. So hopefully we're very, very close. I should get the author proof in my hands soon. Fingers crossed. I'm really excited about that. Really excited.
Yeah. Prime Numbers is a great album. Prime Numbers is a great novel. The Darkwind Paradox is better. You know why it's better? It's got my name in it.
Yeah. I shouldn't have done that. I don't need to feed your ego. So hopefully that's out. But yeah, Zig says album because I actually did create a concept album for Prime Numbers, which is really cool. It just went live this weekend, and I did it as a concept album from start to finish. There's 20 tracks on the album, and they progress as the book progresses. They tell the story of the book in music, and that was a ton of fun to do. I'm going to do one for the Darkwind Paradox. That's going to be a much darker tone, because the Darkwind Paradox, for those of you listening that haven't dived into it yet, that read Prime Numbers, the Darkwind Paradox is darker. It's very psychological, a little bit more horror centric. But it's still the same cyberpunk world and everything like that. It just goes into much darker themes. And it's a lot of fun. So the album itself will be dark, but those have been a ton of fun to create. Creating them using Suno, and I have to determine the sounds and the instruments and everything that goes in it, go through edits and listen to it. But it's been so cool doing that. So get out there and listen to it if you'd like. It's free. Prime Numbers, the album is out anywhere you can get music. We have also got one for the show itself that's an instrumental, and then we've got the Nerdery Murdery soundtrack that's out there, which has end music from our show. So those are all completely free. You want to go listen to them? Oh yeah, have fun with them.
They're kind of cool.
Yeah. They're getting streams. I've been very happy about that. To date, today, where am I sitting? I just had it this morning. There's been 704 downloads.
What?
Of all the albums, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. People out there, obviously enjoying it. So, anyway. That's all I had. You got anything?
I had a couple of things. It's July 4th, so hopefully Fire Sign should be close to being out by this point. Also, I will be appearing later on this month in July at the Burleson Public Library. They're doing like a mystery thing they do in the summertime, and a friend of mine asked me to come in and play Poseidon from the. Oh goodness. the Percy Jackson series. So I'm going to play Poseidon.
What do you mean play it?
Well, I'm going to be Poseidon, and the kids are going to come and try to solve the mystery, and I'm going to have clues to give them as the character of Poseidon.
Oh, that's cool.
An old Casa buddy reached out. Was like, "Hey, would you like to play Poseidon?" I'm like, yeah, that sounds like fun."
We did a murder mystery dinner last week. That was cool. It was a Old West theme. Chelsea ended up being the murderer, which it was really kind of cool. You draw numbers out of a hat, and then the person who leads the murder mystery dinner, they pick a number, and that's, let the person know they're the murderer, and you read clues and things like that. It was interesting. It was kind of cool. We're going to do another one. I don't think it's this month, maybe next month. But the theme is going to be the Jazz Age. So they're fun. They're a blast. We had a great time. But yeah, good luck with that. I think that'll be really cool.
Be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's an excuse to wear a Hawaiian shirt, maybe a wig.
I don't need an excuse to wear a Hawaiian shirt. I wear them like all the time when I'm not working or anything like that. Like my one now.
Very nice. I like the bird on your shoulder. You get a bird on your shoulder.
I do. I have a bird on my shoulder. This is from harddaddy.com. Anybody if Hard Daddy wants to sponsor us, I love their shirt. I buy a lot of their shirts for golf and these Hawaiian shirts. So they're really cool.
If you'd like to sponsor us, Hard Daddy, please contact us.
I got one for my birthday that's got. Not really. They're not exact because I'm assuming they don't have the license, but they're kind of close to Star Wars starships all over it. So
little spaceships.
Yeah, little spaceships, and they're close, not exact. Anyway, that's it. That's it. You got anything else? You ready to step over to the nerdery side of the house?
We're going to talk about the 14th Doctor today.
You're on your own. Haven't seen it yet. I'm behind so bad.
The 14th Doctor is an incarnation of Doctor Who and the protagonist of the British science fiction television series Doctor Who, and they were all set up for the specials in 2023. It is portrayed by Scottish actor David Tennant, who previously played the 10th Doctor from 2005 to 2010, and again in 2013. Within the series narrative, Doctor is a millennia-old alien Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey with somewhat unknown origins, who travels in time and space in the TARDIS, frequently with companions. At the end of each incarnation's life, the Doctor regenerates, changing their physical appearance and aspects of their personality. Tennant's second incarnation is outwardly similar to the 10th Doctor, but with a more sentimental and affectionate persona, and a weariness that reflects his life experiences in the centuries since. Prior to the reveal of Tennant's 14th Doctor, the BBC announced that the 13th Doctor, portrayed by Jodie Whittaker, would be succeeded as the program's lead by a new Doctor portrayal of Ncuti Gatwa. However, Whittaker's final appearance surprised audiences when she instead regenerated into a form portrayed by David Tennant.
Oh, wait. Maybe I did see this one. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's where Jodie Whittaker changed into David Tennant. Everybody was expecting Ncuti Gatwa, but we didn't get Ncuti Gatwa. We got David Tennant.
Right. Okay. So there wasn't a David Tennant after Gatwa.
No.
Okay. Then I have seen this. I apologize.
I'll say seen this. Not before, during, because they bifurcated.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So the BBC later clarified that Gatwa would actually be portraying the 15th Doctor following the 3 special episodes. And it was just 3 specials, 6 hours. They were each 2 hours apiece. The 14th Doctor's run consisted of 3 special episodes as part of the BBC's commentary on the Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, led by returning executive producer Russell T. Davies, who previously led the show between 2005 and 2010. He was responsible for managing Tennant's first run as the 10th Doctor. Tennant was praised for his performance, though some criticized the move to bring back an actor who had previously portrayed the Doctor. He first appeared at the conclusion of The Power of the Doctor, immediately following the 13th Doctor's regeneration. The Doctor noticed that his appearance had reverted to form similar to the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. The following month, Doctor Who magazine announced that their monthly comic strip would feature the 14th Doctor in Liberation of the Daleks, a story that picks up straight after the ending of The Power of the Daleks, or The Power of the Doctor, depicting roughly the first hour of the 14th Doctor's life. So what's great about this, and I have included the regeneration scene in our YouTube playlist, Jodie Whittaker regenerates, walks out and goes, "What? These feel like the same teeth. It's the same hair. What? What? What?" And, he's just amazed that he's got the same face that he had before. So the liberation of the Daleks leads directly to the 14th Doctor's next television appearance. A minisode aired during the Children in Need telethon on the 17th of November 2023 and formerly titled Destination Skaro. It's just like a little 15-minute bit, and then it goes directly into that first episode, The Star Beast. It was part of the 60th anniversary specials. The Doctor arrives in Camden in London, and he bumps into former companion Donna Noble, who's not supposed to remember him. So he's trying, he gets with Donna's family, and he has to talk to them like, she can't know who I am because her mind will burn out. And her daughter Rose, played by Yasmin Finney, they encounter this tiny little, quiet, unassuming little alien called the Meep. And, they're trying to help it because it's this shy, timid little creature. Turns out the Meeps are totally fucking evil. That shy, timid nature is a way to get them to bring you in and trust them. It's like a lure. The Doctor is forced to trigger the meta crisis, granting Donna access to the knowledge that will enable them to save the city. Donna seems to perish until it's revealed that Rose has inherited some of her mother's repressed Time Lord abilities, allowing the Doctor-Donna power to be shared safely between the two of them. So Donna gets her memory back and doesn't burn out her brain, which is great. Donna spills coffee on the TARDIS console, forcing it into an uncontrolled dematerialization. The TARDIS crash lands aboard a spaceship that is adrift in the farthest edge of the universe. When they encounter a shape-shifting entity known as the Not Things, when they return to Camden a few days later after the departure, they discover Wilf has been keeping watch on the TARDIS, who warns them that the world is coming to an end. The Doctor and Donna team up with Unit, where the Doctor is reunited with several allies from past adventures in combat to combat a plot by the Toymaker, played by Neil Patrick Harris. The Toymaker is an original series villain where the Doctor goes, it's part of the Giggle. The Doctor basically goes to an alternate dimension of space-time where thoughts and ideas are just as real as, physical objects. And the Toymaker created this world where he's basically God and Emperor. It was hinted at in that original episode, and this goes back to the 60s. This is an old black and white episode, Patrick Troughton, that the Toymaker was a Time Lord, but it turns out he's something more. And you get to explore what those things are with Ncuti Gatwa's first season. So you got so the three specials he had were the Star Beast, the Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle. And it's basically Donna and her family becoming the companions of the Doctor. So this goes back, the reason they decided to do this, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Russell T. Davies participated in the Doctor Who lockdown events, which were watch-alongs of various episodes of the show held by the Doctor Who community during the COVID-19 pandemic. they had informal discussions between the three as a result of the lockdown, leading to the 60th anniversary specials and reprisal of Tennant and Tate's roles. So what it was is they did these little watch-along specials, and Russell T Davies was slated to take over, and he's like, what if for the 60th anniversary episodes, we brought you guys back and kind of incorporated all the other Doctor Who elements in it? So he wrote up basically these 3 episodes, which they incorporate units and some of the past doctors and some of the past companions. And they'd already announced the casting of Ncuti Gatwa as the next Doctor. So this was a surprise to everyone because they really held on to the secret really tightly. And David Tennant and Catherine Tate did not spill the beans, which is apparently difficult for the both of them. So they got together doing this little COVID watch along party that was like over a Zoom meeting, and they got to talking afterwards, and it was like, yeah, let's do this. And so at the end of the giggle, because the toy maker is not really an entity out inside this universe, and the universe that the toy maker is from, thought and ideas are just as solid as reality. The Doctor's able to not only bifurcate himself,
good word.
Yeah, but also bifurcate the TARDIS. So the 14th Doctor and the 15th Doctor are both alive with a TARDIS at the same time. And the 14th Doctor at the end decides to retire and live with Donna. So in Ncuti Gatwa's period as the 15th Doctor, you actually get a return to them. They're having a laugh. And the Doctor and Yasmin will go on adventures, and it pisses Donna off. She's like, "You guys weren't supposed to go anywhere," and it's like, "But I have a time machine." How long were you gone? I don't know, like 6 months, and they'd only been gone a couple hours. Because again, it's a time machine. You can return to right after you left. So there's some of that going on, and it's really beautiful in play. And for some of the creatures, like the Meep was kind of a funny episode because it was this, this sweet little, and then, it had a mouthful of razor sharp teeth that it could eat people's faces off with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of fun. But the Wild Blue Yonder, where they go to the ship and there are these unpeople that basically mirror them. They mirror them, but they're also kind of elongated. That was frightening because they never really explained what the unpeople were. You never really got an explanation of it. So very, very, they're terrifying and frightening and just creepified. And they're on a spaceship, this beautiful, pristine spaceship that is empty because the unpeople have gotten rid of everybody else. So yeah, the Wild Blue Yonder is a lot of fun, but it's also really freaking creepy. And the giggle is very malevolent, but you get to bring in a lot of the people with the unit team. And again, some of the older companions, which show up later on. You've got, you end up getting Melanie involved, and I think Ace is still involved, and you get Tegan Javanka. So these are all companions from the 1970s or the 1980s to different Doctors. So that's what I like about Russell T Davies a bit more than some of the other showrunners, is that Russell T Davies really likes to pull from the old series because he views it as something wonderful and a part of English culture, basically. This is definitely part of Doctor Who culture. I mean, a lot of people really didn't care for the old series, at least over here, because it's serialized. You get, every 30 minutes someone gets captured or there's a scare. It's because it was serialized. I think it's actually 27 minutes. You have to have a cliffhanger so you could start the next episode.
Well, not only that, because we've talked about this before, that they showed those episodes kind of weird.
Yeah, they showed them as movies on our local PBS station.
Well, and it would vary. So depending on how many of the serials it was for an episode, you would get some episodes which were an hour or 2 hours, some that went like 6.
Yeah.
And that was very hard for me as a kid to keep up with because, I kind of needed some structure. I needed to know that there was going to be this amount of time. And there were some that it just was beyond.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the problem with showing them as serials is if you miss an episode, you're kind of lost.
Right.
Yeah. Because we had a local independent station that started showing Doctor Who before our PBS station did. KXS. It was Channel 39. I think it's called something else now, but I think it was like KXXS or whatever the call letters were. But it started showing Doctor Who before Star Trek every night. So you got that serial and then an episode of Star Trek, which is honestly how I learned to consume Doctor Who. And then when they moved it to PBS, or our local PBS station, KERA, they showed them as what they call the movie format, which is all the serials of each story together. So you'd get some that were only 3 serials. Well, that's an hour and a half, or it's actually not even quite an hour and a half. It's like an hour and 15 minutes because they're like 26 minutes a piece. So it would go from one of those, the little 3 serial ones, to an 8-parter or a 6-parter, because they really weren't doing 8-parters by the time they got to Tom Baker, which is when they started showing ours. We basically got all the color ones. We did get the black and white here, but they showed them on a different, because we had a different PBS channel called Channel 2, and they would show those on, I think, Friday night at like 10 o'clock, and they showed the old black and white ones up till the color, and then they showed the color ones over on Channel 13, which was kind of a weird setup.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being Saturday nights on PBS. Am I wrong?
No, for the black and white episodes.
No, I know. I'm talking about the ones I watched, the Tom Bakers. I seem to remember those.
Yeah, those were on Saturday nights.
Yeah,
I think they started on Fridays and they quickly moved to Saturdays. In like 1984, 1985.
That's about right.
Yeah, because they ran on Channel 39 as a serial for about a year and a half, and then they lost the license because KERA was picking it up. Two things can't have the same license in the same time. Or they couldn't before. They changed a lot of the rules on broadcasting back in the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, so they would show these episodes. So you get to pull in a lot of these older things, which, makes old time fans really happy. But honestly, pound for pound, the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle, as far as episodes go, are a treat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And they're a little longer, they're like an hour and a half to 2 hours a piece. So you get roughly 5 to 6 hours worth of the 14th Doctor. And again, you pick him up again during Ncuti Gatwa's run, but it's just they're little snippets where they basically just pan over to see what's going on with him, and they're still running around, they're still happy. And then
one of the things in there, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. NPH in this is
as a celestial toy maker. Yeah, he's incredible.
Brilliantly over the top.
Yes.
Neil Patrick Harris is a very, very good actor. Um, he does what he does well. He takes a character and just embodies it. You go back to the Doogie Howser days when he was introduced and he was great there. You go to his How I Met Your Mother days when he played Barney, and he was a very over the top character, but he was very good at it. Here he does the exact Dr. Horrible. He's an over the top character, and he's brilliant at it. I don't think he gets enough roles. I'll be honest.
No, he does not. And what was great is he really kind of channeled. He did his own take of it, but he also channeled Michael Goff, who was the original, not our Michael Goff,
right?
British
I was
actor
going to mention.
Yeah, who originally played the Celestial Toymaker. He was also Alfred in 1980s Batman.
Neil Patrick Harris?
No, Michael Goff.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Like what?
No, but Neil Patrick Harris kind of channeled Michael Goff, Celestial Toymaker, because there's he seems like he's a lot of fun and jokey and giggly, but there's a malevolence behind him that Neil Patrick Harris brings out, and it's like it's an old Germanic wooden toy store that he's running, and he's got more teeth than he should have, and it's just creepy. Because it's like, well, we need to have fun. It's like, whoa. You're having fun is killing people. Stop it. And, Unit gets involved. So you get more of Kate. Kate Stewart. Kate Lethbridge Stewart, sorry. Because it's Lethbridge Stewart. And again, he bifurcates into Ncuti Gatwa, and then they bifurcate the TARDIS, and at the end of it, or I'm sorry, they said bi-generation, which actually comes up in Ncuti Gatwa's finale. The Ronnie, which is an old Time Lord that they dealt with, the Ronnie comes back as well, and is bifurcated or bi-generated into two different people. So it's got a creep factor to it. But yeah, still fun and enjoyable. Because if there's no stakes, it's not, if there's no stakes, it's not Doctor Who. It has to be either world or universe ending at some point. I really loved Donna Noble's portrayal, because the original Donna Noble was a little over the top. When Catherine Tate comes back to play Donna Noble, she's not as over the top, because she's raised a kid in that time. She's got she got married at the end. She's raised a kid. They've had financial troubles. She's taking care of her mom and her grandpa.
And I appreciated this version of Donna Noble, because I agree with you. The original was very over the top. Chelsea loves Donna Noble. I hated her. I couldn't stand her. She annoyed me every time she was on the screen, and I was never so happy as when she went away. But when she came back in this, she was really much better. Really, a whole lot better.
Well, I mean, I liked the original portrayal, but I think it's fascinating the way that Catherine Tate was like, well, okay, this is not a young woman in her 20s and early 30s. This is an older woman who's had a kid, who's been married, who's held a family together. This is a more serious person. And you see it. Even though everybody's like, why don't you go with a doctor and take a few days off? Go with the doctor, take a few days off. It's good for you, because, they spend most of that first episode running around trying to keep her, which is hysterical, by the way, because it's a very Scooby Gang, where they'll run in one door and she runs in another. There's a lot of slapstick, because it's like, we have to protect her from this, but they figure out that she and Yasmin share some of that Time Lord DNA that she accidentally got because of the way she saved the Doctor many moons ago. That she's able to bifurcate some of that Time Lord energy or TARDIS energy, which would have killed her. So she's able to kind of shunt it off and still survive and have her memories back. So, and then at the end of that episode, it's like, why don't you go hang out with the doctor? You could use a few days off. Which is nothing you ever would have said to the original Donna Noble. So I'm really glad that whole dynamic is working. And the fact that the 14th Doctor is able to retire at the end of it. And it also explains the museum keeper. Because in the 50th anniversary episode, Matt Smith is staring at a painting of Gallifrey. It's like it's got two names, Gallifrey Falls and No More. And the museum keeper steps out and it's Tom Baker. And he's like, well, see, that's what you don't understand. It's actually one name, Gallifrey Falls, No More. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, you'll find that sometimes you visit old voices and old faces. And he's basically the keeper of the museum, and he's all cryptic and stuff when he talks, and then he walks off. And it's like, okay, at some point they're going to have to explain how there are two doctors running around, and they have explained it. I think that David Tennant's going to end up becoming the museum keeper or the curator. So, there was such a little thing, but they gave a nod to it with this whole 3-episode shows. Not to mention, they're really great pieces of television and really good pieces of Doctor Who.
Agreed.
I look, I've been a Doctor Who fan since I was like 9. And yes, I understand that some of it's a little too long. Some of the special effects from back in the 70s and the 80s were not great. They did the best with what they had.
Well, and those of you who are new listeners to the show, because we do have new listeners to the show, go back and listen to the old Doctor Who episodes that Zick did, because he's done this chronologically. And we talk about it. I attempted to get into Doctor Who starting with Tom Baker, but I just couldn't do it, as we talked about. Chris Eccleston became the first Doctor where I came in. And then I bailed on the Jodie Whittaker season because I just didn't like them. I couldn't stay with them. They were boring me to tears. And I haven't jumped back in except for this one with David Tennant. I really need to get into, pronounce the name again, please.
Inshuti-Gatwa.
Thank you, because I'm not going to attempt it. I need to get into those. I've heard they're good and better.
Oh,
I
they're really
need
good.
to watch those,
really
and
good.
I really need to watch them before the new one. And the new one comes out November.
Yeah,
December.
Christmas.
I just saw
Christmas of this year. Yeah,
I just saw a trailer for it this week. It looks really good.
Christmas of this year, and Ncuti Gatwa regenerated into what appears to be Billie Piper.
Yes, and the trailer that came out this week displays her full force.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting old people coming back as the Doctor, and I think that's great. But, what's great about this is now there are two Doctors running around.
Mm-hmm.
There are two Doctors running around.
There has been for a while. Like you said, you had the Museum Keeper episode.
Mm-hmm.
There is, what is the episode called? I think it's called The Two Doctors. Isn't it?
Yeah, where they run around together. Yeah, they're not supposed to, but every once in a while they do. Especially like specials, they'll do this. They had the 5 Doctors back in the 80s, which was amazing. Well, not really amazing, but it was fun for Doctor Who fans.
Sure. You had the one with the War Doctor, where there were 2 Doctors in that. Yeah. Actually, I think there were more than that.
There's 3. I think we ended up like 10 at one point.
Did we?
Because they were all in their TARDISes moving around.
Maybe. There's the Peter Capaldi episode where he is standing off to the side of the same field where the original
The first Doctor.
Yeah, the first Doctor, where he's
William
standing.
Hartnell.
William Hartnell. He's standing off in a field watching William Hartnell.
Yeah.
His first episode. So they've done this from time to time, and of course you're going to get that because they are jumping through time. So there's very easily a potential where they could run into another one.
It's I think what I like best about these three things is it started out with a small conversation of three people getting together going, you know what, maybe we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
And they just expanded on it, and it was beautiful. It was a love letter to Doctor Who fans. And I think the English public at large. Because it has been on since 1963. Yeah, it was off the air for a long time, but there've been books and audio adventures, and they did some other things that were very close to Doctor Who that weren't exactly Doctor Who, but close to it. And then they brought it back, and it's well loved.
You say that, and I was going to ask this question earlier. So the Jodie Whittaker years, the ratings went down, the viewership went down.
Yeah.
Did they pick back up for Gatwa?
I think so. Okay. I know they were on. Disney has severed their contract with the BBC, but the BBC still owns it. They didn't do this. The BBC was smart and didn't do with it what they did in 1996 with Fox, because that queered them from being able to make it for 7 or 8 years. Even though I love that Fox film, which has finally been released for streaming. You can actually buy it now. You can also buy it on Blu-ray, 4K, and DVD. Because for a long time it was hard to come by. You could get a video cassette of it. It was really hard to come by for a long time in the States.
Well, and really kind of where my point was, or where my question was leading, asking that question. Have the ratings recovered enough that we're not in fear of Doctor Who going away again?
There were talks about it, but it appears that Doctor Who is not going anywhere. There will be an American distributor for it, but the BBC is committed to making. Now, they may not make as many, but the BBC is committed to continuing Doctor Who because the BBC is owned by the British people, and this is culturally significant for the British people. They will never again take it off the air. Now, they may only do a couple of episodes every couple of years if that's what they can afford. But again, the BBC belongs to the British people. Doctor Who is a British cultural icon that reflects the British culture at the time that it's made. So it's going to continue to be made in one form or another. So I don't think we're ever going to be in danger of ever losing it. We just may not get as much as we want.
Yeah, I was just curious because, I mean, at some point.
Because the BBC is not contingent on ratings. They are contingent on, well, I guess they are a little bit. It's on what the public wants. And too many people, they have too many people who have said, do not take Doctor Who off the air again. You know what I mean? There's too many tax-paying British people who say, do not take Doctor Who off the air again. We may not be watching her, but we're going to be watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, and so what I wondered, would there ever be a point that you would get Doctor Who fatigue? And people are like, you know what, this has just gone on way too long. We need to gracefully exit.
I don't see that. I don't see that coming. Again, I'm not a British person. But as far as I understand, it is still loved because at its heart, it is still a children's show. And there are generations of people who have come up with it. So you've always got new kids hiding behind the couch. That's what they refer to it as. because Doctor Who's very scary. So you got to hide behind the couch when the monster comes out and jump back out. It's a rite of passage for British children to not have to hide behind the couch when the monster comes out, or hide their face when the monster comes up. And that's still a thing today. So no, I don't believe, and again, I could be wrong. I don't believe that Doctor Who is ever going to go away again. We may get less, we may not have as much as we want, but there's not going to be a fatigue of it because of its enshrinement in British culture. Will there be a fatigue in the United States? That is possible. It may be like the dark times when Doctor Who first came back, and it was hard as hell to get over here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was that first Chris Eccleston season. If you wanted it while it was fresh, it was hard to come by. Then PBS stations started picking it up again because they're basically the ones who kept it alive over here. And then it moved to Sci-Fi, and then it moved to BBC America, and then it moved here and there. It was on HBO and it was on Disney. I don't know where they're going to show it here. It may be hard to come by again. That's okay. I will figure out a way to find it and watch it. There's a way to spoof your internet section to make you look like a British person, and they have a thing called the iPlayer, which you can watch anywhere. I don't necessarily recommend that because it's kind of illegal, but it's not illegal here. It's illegal over there.
Right.
Again, it's the taxpayers that pay for the BBC, so you do have to pay a radio and television tax. But yeah, I don't think it's going away. I don't think it's going away in the UK. It might go away here though. That is a possibility. And one which is going to make life a pain in the ass, but I'm going to find it some way. If I got to go stay in Canada for a couple weeks because they'll get it.
Huh.
The Canadians get it because they're still part of the Commonwealth. And if you live in the parts that are close to Canada, you can still pick it up because it's still over the air. Radio and television signals do not recognize borders. They do flow back and forth. But yeah, I don't think so. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, it was off the air for, I think, 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
I think in total, because it was off the air and we got it back for like one thing, and it went off the air, and then we had a bunch of specials and stuff. It would come back for, nothing official, and we had the Stranger films. Back in the late 80s, no, I'm sorry, early 90s, they made these films where they cast all of the Doctor Who people in them as part of the Stranger series, and it was Doctor Who without them actually calling it Doctor Who. And they made these little made for television movies, and then they released them on DVD and Blu-ray over here. I think they showed them on the PBS stations, but they made I know at least 4 of them. So they still were doing that, even though it wasn't officially Doctor Who. And then BBC signed the deal with Fox, and they made the 1996 movie. Well, they stopped doing the Stranger stuff. And after the 1996 movie did well in Britain, but not here, Fox still kind of retained some rights. So they did that's when Big Finish Audio really kicked into high gear. Big Finish Audio does radio dramas for Doctor Who. So after the 1996 movie didn't generate anything else, Big Finish just kind of took up the reins and kept going until they brought the series back.
Right.
They're still going on. They're not making any of the Stranger films anymore, but the Big Finish Audio is still going strong. And Big Finish Audio, even though it's a separate company, is still official Doctor Who stuff. It's basically the stories in between the stories. So they're a lot of fun. Enjoy those immensely, as well as novels and things like that. So yeah, Doctor Who, I don't think we're in danger of losing Doctor Who anytime soon, but we might not get as much as we want.
Right. I was just curious. I'm, just something I thought about that, could it possibly ever get some sort of user fatigue?
Maybe here. That wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think the British are going to allow that to happen again. Because there were a lot of people who were really unhappy about them taking it off anyway. Even if they weren't watching it, it needed to be on because it was part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
It was like tea.
Like tea.
It was like tea or the Beatles. It's just this is what they do. But yeah, that's about it for the 14th Doctor. I figured we'd talk about it more than just give a bunch of facts and figures. I did want to get to the part about the story about them. It started as a conversation around these watch parties.
Mm-hmm.
And that the David Tennant thing was because it was a big surprise to everybody. Nobody saw that coming. Because we were all expecting Ncuti Gatwa. So yeah, that's about it for the 14th Doctor, other than get out and watch it. It is on, I think, HBO. All of these are on HBO.
I think that's correct. I think that's where it is now.
Yeah, and the Ncuti Gatwa stuff is all on Disney. So you have to jump around a little bit. But yeah, you can go out and check these out. It might be on Disney instead. I'd have to look. It's either on HBO or Disney. You can go out and watch it right now. And I know they've got a Netflix deal too, so at some point you'll be able to see it on Netflix as well.
Netflix had it for a while.
Yeah.
Still shows on Disney, Disney, BritBox, Amazon Prime, Pluto TV, the Roku channel.
Oh wow. Okay, so it's on a lot of stuff. You can watch it for free with commercials. Nice.
Well, here, I'll tell you what. Let me look on Disney here, and I'll tell you real quick if they're all on Disney.
Yeah, you're looking for the Star Beast, the Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle.
1 second. Let me log in.
I couldn't remember where the split was. I can't remember if the split is after Jodie Whittaker or after David Tennant. But I know HBO had a deal, then Disney had a deal, and then wherever that deal stops, that's where one of them has like the new series and the other one doesn't. And then the old series is in different places.
Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, I had to get a one-time code in order to get in.
Nice.
All right, here we go. So, Doctor Who. It shows. Yeah, it's just the Gatwa ones.
Okay, but you don't have the Star Beast, the Wild Blue Yonder, or the Giggle?
No.
Okay.
No, season 1, season 2. No.
Okay, then they're probably on HBO then. I couldn't remember where the cutoff was.
And on HBO, because this is one of my services, Doctor Who. Let's look there. Doctor Who. Doctor Who is not on HBO.
Oh. Huh.
Period.
Well, it's somewhere. I was just watching it the other day.
So Amazon, and let's go to. So we're sitting here doing this live searching stream.
Yeah. Why are we searching stuff on a radio broadcast?
Who. That's all right. I mean, because people might want to know.
There.
Doctor Who is payment only on Amazon.
So you can buy it.
Yep, you can buy it. So it doesn't appear to be streaming free anywhere.
That's weird. Because
Yeah,
it was just a few weeks ago when I was writing this stuff up.
yeah,
Well, I say a few
no,
weeks ago. It was a couple of months ago.
no.
It'll
So
probably pop back up
it
again.
may only be BritBox.
Another good reason to have the BritBox extension on your Prime. It's only like $5. That's also how you get Blake 7.
Interesting.
I wouldn't get the BritBox proper because it's like $10 and you don't get any more. Or at least you don't get any more of the stuff that I like. And their the BritBox proper is very hard to navigate. Which, turns me off. I'd rather use Amazon and just have the BritBox extension.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it for the 14th Doctor, David Tennant, again.
Awesome.
And we'll move on to Shutigatwa.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to watch his 2 seasons between now and then. So give me a little bit of time. We're finishing up a series right now, which we should actually finish this week, or at least the latest season. So yeah, give me some time. I'll mention that to Chelsea that we need to watch that series, and maybe we'll finish Jodie Whittaker and then jump into that. I don't know. We'll see. Cool. Awesome. Well, with that, then I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Idaho Department of Correction, the Idaho Statesman, East Idaho News, Associated Press Archives, the Spokesman Review, KTVB, News Idaho, Murderpedia, the New York Times, and this is the story of Paul Ezra Rhoades.
Paul Ezra Rhoades.
So, take a peek at the map of the United States. Idaho is not something that jumps out as associated with serial killers. It's known for mountains, rivers, wide stretches of land. These are small towns where people tend to know their neighbors. Yeah, potatoes. In a lot of ways, Idaho really represents the quieter side of America. It's really the kind of place where violent crime feels very distant and something that happens somewhere else. But in the summer of 1987, that sense of distance disappeared, because within a matter of weeks, young women began disappearing across parts of southern Idaho. They were disappearing from parking lots, from shopping areas, really ordinary places that people pass through every day. And we've talked about with a lot of these serial killer cases, especially pre-90s, the cases seemed unrelated. They happened in different cities, different victims, and they were different circumstances, but investigators would soon realize something that really changed everything, that they weren't isolated and that someone was hunting women. The attacks were very sudden. The victims were taken very quickly, and their bodies were later discovered in remote parts of the Idaho landscape. And by the time investigators understood what was happening, multiple lives had already been lost, and the person responsible is still out there. So unlike some of the cases I've been covering, this A to Z journey, this is a story that would eventually have an ending. We've had some that haven't. This would end with an arrest, a trial, and years later an execution. But before that, communities across Idaho were asking the same question: who was responsible for these disappearances, and how many victims were there going to be? So today on our journey, we're going to go to the Gem State with Paul Ezra Rhoades. This is our next stop in the A to Z journey across America's serial killer in Idaho. And so again, in the summer of '87, southern Idaho was not expecting to become the center of a serial killer investigation. There were cities like Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, and Pocatello that were places where violent crime was relatively rare. Families all shopped at the same grocery stores every week. College students moved through town during the summer months, and life just moved at a smaller pace than it would in larger cities. But that was the summer things began to change, because young women were disappearing. On June 27, 1987, a 21-year-old woman named Stacy Dawn Baldwin vanished in Blackfoot, Ohio. She'd been at a shopping center at the Common Sense convenience store when she disappeared, and witnesses later reported seeing her outside near the parking lot, but after that, she was gone. Her family reported her missing, and local authorities began searching for answers. And at first, investigators didn't assume the worst. Adults disappear for many reasons. They probably told them you have to wait 24 hours or something like that, which, by the way, you do not.
That's a lie.
It is a lie.
We have discovered that is a lie.
But sometimes people leave town voluntarily, and sometimes they showed up days later. But as time passed, she never returned. And that's when the discovery was made. Her body was found in a remote area outside of town, and she had been murdered. Just over a week later, on July 11th, 1987, Susan Michelle Michelbacher, who was 19, disappeared from a grocery store parking lot in Idaho Falls. She had been running errands when she vanished, and her car was still in the parking lot, but there were no signs of a struggle, and no witness could clearly describe what had happened. Investigators, though, were starting to see this very disturbing pattern. Another young woman, another public location, another sudden disappearance, and days later, her body was found in a rural area, and she had been murdered. So investigators now had two cases that looked alarmingly similar. They were two women who were abducted in broad daylight, discovered in remote in isolated locations, and two murders within weeks of each other. And so detectives began asking, were they dealing with a serial killer? Well, just 2 weeks later, that answer would come when July 24th, 1987, Rhonda Melinda Davison, who was a 21-year-old college student, disappeared in Pocatello. She had been working at a convenience store when she had been abducted. Customers arrived and noticed that something was wrong, that the store was unattended, and that she was gone.
Oh my God, he pulled her out while she was working?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And investigators immediately connected the disappearance to the previous two cases because they now had three young women and three disappearances in three different towns across Idaho. And so the signs were all impossible to ignore. Somewhere out there, someone was targeting young women and taking them without warning.
I just looked this up. This area of Idaho, the southern part of Idaho, is where the high desert meets the mountains and the forest covered mountains. It's where those two things converge. So there's lots of places that are empty out there.
Yes. By late July, law enforcement agencies across Idaho began sharing information and coordinating their investigations, which thankfully for that, because we saw a lot of these where it took a lot of time before they started coordinating this stuff. It started with local police departments, and then state investigators and the FBI became involved. And the FBI came in because whoever was responsible did not appear to be operating in just one town. And so they had to bring in more. This killer was moving, and with each new victim, the urgency grew. Investigators knew if they did not find the person responsible soon, there was a very real possibility that another young woman could disappear next. But what they didn't yet realize was that the man responsible was already moving through the area. He was watching, he was waiting, and he was preparing for his next attack. By late July of 87, fear had spread across Idaho. The crimes occurred in the three different towns, but investigators were now convinced they were connected, and the pattern was very clear. But what they needed now was a lead, and that lead would come from a witness. In the investigation into Susan Michelbacher's disappearance, there was a witness that provided detectives with an important detail. Someone had seen a man speaking with her in the grocery store parking lot shortly before she vanished. He was described as being in his early 30s and driving a brown pickup truck, which doesn't narrow things down very much. Pickup trucks are very common across, especially areas like this, like Idaho. And the description itself was fairly general, but investigators began circling the information anyway because the smallest crack can open a case wide open. Not long after the third murder, there was another incident that occurred, and this was what really changed the direction of everything. There was a woman who reported that a man in a pickup truck had attempted to force her into his vehicle, but unlike the previous victim, she managed to escape. She was able to give investigators a much clearer description of the man in his truck. The vehicle was a brown Chevrolet pickup truck. The man appeared calm but persistent, and most importantly, she has seen enough to help investigators identify him if they ever saw him again. So suddenly detectives had a potential suspect, and on August 7th, 1987, police officers in Idaho Falls noticed a vehicle that matched the description investigators had been circulating with this brown pickup truck. Excuse me. The driver was a man named Paul Ezra Rhoades. Officers stopped him, and there was nothing immediately connecting him to the murders, but there were things about the encounter that raised their suspicions. He appeared nervous, and his explanations for where he had been did not always make sense. Investigators also soon learned that he had a criminal history involving violence, and that was enough for detectives to start looking a little bit more closely at him. So they started looking into his background, and they found connections that were very difficult to ignore. There were witness descriptions, his vehicle, and his presence in areas where victims had disappeared. So eventually, investigators decided they had enough to arrest him. And once in custody, this is when the pressure began to build, because detectives believed they had finally found the man responsible for the murders, but they still needed proof. What happened next would provide them with exactly that. Once he was in custody, Paul Ezra Rhoades began being questioned by investigators about the murders, and at first he denied any involvement. Witness statements placed him near locations connected to the victims, as I had said. His vehicle matched the description given by multiple witnesses. And investigators thought they could place him in the area where women had disappeared. So eventually the pressure began really growing, and Paul Rhoades started talking. During questioning, he ultimately confessed to the murders. He admitted to abducting the women and killing them, and the details he provided matched information that investigators had not released to the public, which helped confirm that he had direct knowledge of the crimes. According to the investigators, Rhoades had targeted women who were alone in public places. Again, we had parking lots, convenience store, shopping areas, places where someone could approach quickly and force a victim into a vehicle before anyone realized what happened. Once he had control of the victims, he would drive them to remote areas where the murders would take place. The crimes were extremely brutal. The families of the victims, though this confession confirmed the fears that they had been living with for weeks, but it also meant the person responsible had finally been identified. Rhoades would be charged with multiple counts of murder, and the case moved through the Idaho court system, where prosecutors presented the evidence against them, all the confessions, the witness statements, the timelines. For the jury, the case was very compelling because Rhoades was ultimately convicted of the murders, and the court sentenced him to death. Like many death penalty cases in the United States, though, the legal process does not end with the conviction. Rhoades spent more than 2 decades on death row while his case moved through the appeals process. Attorneys filed challenges, and courts reviewed the convictions and sentencing, but over time, the rulings continued to uphold the verdict. Eventually, Idaho scheduled his execution, and on November 18th, 2011, Paul Ezra Rhoades was executed by lethal injection at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. 20 years had passed since the murders that he had terrorized southern Idaho with. For the families, the execution marked the end of a very long, painful legal process, but for a lot of people in Ohio, the case remained a reminder of how quickly violence can appear, even in places that appear safe. Communities across the region kind of were forced to confront a reality they never expected, that a serial killer had been moving through their small towns, just watching and waiting. And so that safety that they so cherished was shattered. So these murders left a lasting mark on southern Idaho because these communities did not experience these level of crimes, these brutal of crimes. It just didn't happen. You had petty crimes. You had misdemeanor crimes that would happen.
Yeah, most murders were crimes of passion, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. For investigators, though, this showed how quickly a pattern can emerge, even when a killer is willing to move between cities.
Well, it sounds like they got him pretty quick. And for 1987, that's real quick.
Well, and this is kind of the thing that departments have had to learn over the last 20, 30 years is they've got to start getting that information out. They've got to start broadcasting this information to different departments, because I actually just had this conversation yesterday with someone about, they were asking me, did I think it was impossible for a serial killer to offend today? And I told her, I don't think it's impossible. I think it's harder. There's a theory that there's one in Austin right now.
Yeah.
There's another theory there's one in Houston right now. So it's not impossible. It's just harder now because everybody carries a camera. Everybody carries a video camera with them. So DNA is becoming more and more advanced. So we have learned over the years. Yes, I think it's harder now, but I don't think it's ever going to be impossible. I think you're still, until we can figure out how to solve the serial killer problem, it's never going to go away. And it is a problem, because as we have talked about in many, many episodes, there is a key in their head somewhere that turns. No one is born a serial killer.
Nope. Serial
killers are made. Whether you believe the McDonald triad that we've talked about before, or it's abuse, or something in their DNA clicked.
Yeah,
it's something.
It is probably a combination of several factors.
I agree.
It seems to be everyone we've looked at has been a combination of certain factors.
The only one that I've ever seen that seems to be the most prevalent is abuse.
Yeah.
Is child abuse seems to be the
or
one.
Neglect. Yeah.
Abuse or neglect. Those are the ones that seem to be the most common. The others you get in the McDonald triangle, whether you believe it or not, are the McDonald triad. Abuse, bedwetting past an inappropriate age, and setting fires or killing small animals. Those two go hand in hand because it's about taking power back.
Yeah.
When you set fire to something, you're gaining power over it. When you abuse animals, you're taking power over that animal. But something happened. And really, unlike some of the cases we've covered in the A to Z journey, this one did reach a conclusion. An arrest was made. There was a confession, and there was an execution. It finally came to an end, but it's the impact of these crimes. It's something the families of the victims and the communities involved will never forget. It's something that is going to carry for generations. We had a serial killer that came through here.
Yeah.
And so that's where belief shatters in the safety. Like I said, in the safety of a small town, that's where belief shatters. I lived in small town America, and we felt relatively safe. And when you get a violent crime, that can just destroy your sense of safety very quickly. So anyway, that is the story of Paul Ezra Rhoades and the murders that shook southern Idaho in 1987. That will close our stop in Idaho, but our A to Z journey of America's serial killers will continue. Next time, we're going to head to the Midwest, and our next stop will be in Illinois.
Illinois.
And that's my story for this week.
Well, thank you, sir.
It was kind of hard to find one in Idaho because, again, you don't get it very much.
Yeah.
And we're going to have some states that are that way. That
dude,
it's hard to find them.
think there are more people in certain cities in the United States than live in the entire state of Idaho.
Yeah. Speaking of, I was just out of curiosity, I was looking that up the other day. The city of Houston now, if I remember right, has like 8 million people in it.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas now had the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, I think, has 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. They just wild thinking about that.
I've also heard that Houston, as far as languages being spoken in the home,
mm-hmm.
has the most different languages being spoken in the home than any other place on earth. And it's
that's interesting.
Like 250.
That's interesting.
Yeah. There's a big, of course, English, French, and Spanish, because Houston sits at the place where there's still people who speak French at home and still people who speak Spanish at home. But there's a lot of folks from southern India that have settled in Houston because the climate is, and it's conducive. They've even got a rugby stadium. No, not a rugby, a cricket stadium in Houston now. And I don't mean like a little, like a stadium.
I really think I need to go get something like Rosetta Stone or something and learn Spanish because it's very prevalent down here. And I think I just think it would be nice if I could, I mean, if anything else, speak with the lady who comes clean our house every 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Because she speaks no
Gracias por su ayudar. Thank you for your help, man. Try that one.
I tell her gracias all the time. I say hola. But if I have to actually talk to her, I use Google Translate. I type on my phone what I need to say to her, and she reads it, and she types back, and that's the way we talk.
Yeah, but I mean that's probably formal Spanish, and there's a lot of stuff in the Spanish that lady's probably speaking that is actually, like Aztec.
Oh, sure. I don't know. But I keep thinking about that. I keep thinking I really ought to learn it. But anyway. That will take us to the end of another recording week. We had our nice little squirrels off as we usually do.
Thank you.
That's just how we go. So, if you enjoy that, welcome. If you don't enjoy it, sorry. We've got a whole new set of listeners that, God, my head is just not with me. We have a whole new set of listeners out there. So welcome those of you. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you stay with it. We've got a ton of episodes out there, but as always, you can find more about us on nerderymurdery.com. That's our website. You'll find links to our YouTube page, which Zig works on, and you'll find links to my book. You'll find links to the soundtracks. You'll find links to all kinds of things. But really, the YouTube page, Zig does a whole lot of work on that. So, you'll find what he did for this episode.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Thank you.
Also on our webpage, if you wish to become a patron, our link to our Patreon is on our website. That helps with the costs that are associated with this show. With your patronage, you do get exclusive episodes that are not released anywhere else. And you also get our episodes as soon as they're available, usually weeks ahead of everybody else, as soon as we're done with the editing. I put them out on our Patreon account. So as of today, there are 29 exclusives out there. Am I right on that? 29?
Yep, 29. That's
we'll
correct.
be doing our 30 probably here in a couple of weeks. And
we're usually anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks ahead, sometimes as much as 6 or 7.
Sometimes more than that. It just depends on how quick we get to our editing, but it's quite a bit ahead. Quite a bit ahead of everybody else. So if you want to get as close to live as possible, you can have out there. But we do appreciate that because our patrons help with us, and we also do have the link to our merchandise page where if you wish to show off your Nerdery Murdery fandom, that along with our patrons that help with the costs that are associated with our show. There are costs for our uploads, for our storage, for our website, everything that's associated with this. It's not cheap, it's not free, and we do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. One thing you can do that's completely free is go out and give a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. And last, but certainly not least, to our good friend Chuck, you can go sleep now.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdering.
Cue the music.